Hello there and welcome back to my channel. I make several videos a week all about cruelty-free beauty, so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, hope you'll please consider subscribing. Now, I know that it's probably not the best thing to talk about discontinued makeup on YouTube like this because, well, it's products that you cannot get anymore. However, I never want anyone to watch my videos and feel like they have to have the products that I'm using. And all this is really just kind of like a shop my stash video where I pull out some discontinued products that I have and I want to show them some more love because they are already in my collection and they need to be used up as well. And if anything, I just want this video to inspire someone to pull out. Maybe you have discontinued makeup in your collection and you just want to use it again. And who knows, maybe you actually have some of these products that I am talking about today. Some of these are some that I feel like should still exist. And then there are some that I'm going to be rediscovering myself because I don't really remember much about them. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then let's go ahead and get started. Alright, the first thing I'm going in with is eyeshadow. Now, I had plenty of eyeshadow palettes to choose from that have been discontinued. I couldn't narrow it down, so I could always turn this into a series, but I don't have a lot of discontinued products outside of maybe like blush and eyeshadow. The other categories I don't really have a lot, but I could definitely continue making it a series with eyeshadow palettes. But the one I picked up here, if you watched my last declutter video where I went through a lot of Wet n Wild, if you haven't, I will link it for you up here. This one I kept because I like the color scheme and I don't think I have something quite like it in my collection. This is the Wet n Wild Wizards in Training eyeshadow palette and I thought the color scheme was very pretty in this palette. I love the purples and the pinks in it, and these two kind of like these shades right here, but they are more of topper shades because I was swatching them prior to the video, but I'm just dying to use them again. And now that Wet n Wild has been added back to the cruelty-free list, I can use these products again. I have not used a Wet n Wild product in probably well over a year by now, so I'm excited to dip back into that. So I'm first going to start out with a blending brush from e.l.f. and I'm going in with this top shade right here. It's just a transition shade, or that's what they call them in the palette. Now the word transition has been kind of rubbed off. I don't know how pigmented this is, so I'm going to take a little small amount and then run it in my crease, just like this. They used to be my favorite drugstore brand. I waited on every single collection release because I just couldn't wait to try new products from them. And I missed their products, so I'm glad that they've been added back to the cruelty-free list. Okay, then next I'm going to go in with this purpley shade right here on a flat eyeshadow brush from e.l.f. And I'm going to start stamping that on this outer portion of my lid. That'd be more like a topper shade. Well, I don't know. Let me build it up first before I really... there we go. There's a little more color to it. Okay, and then I'm just going back in with that blending brush that I used for that first shade and just work around that purple. Then I'm going to try this white shade in the palette. I'm going to take that. This is actually a lip defining brush, but I like to use it for eyeshadow to kind of get like, especially in this inner part. Let's see. I wanted to put down a shadow first because those shimmer shades are toppers, so I wanted to get down like a matte shade first. Then I'm going in with this purpley topper shade right here, and then I'm going to start pressing that right here and kind of like the middle portion of my lid, overlapping between that white eyeshadow and the purple eyeshadow. Okay, now just for mascara, I just use this Tower 28 Make Waves mascara. I don't have a discontinued mascara, so I just use this one, and I just picked it because it's purple tube and, well, purple eyeshadow. Now the lashes I have here are actually a discontinued pair, or I should say they were only around during Halloween. There's no like brand name, I don't believe. They come from Walmart during that time and they were called Coffin Craze. And they look like that. And I mean, they're pretty cheap lashes, but I remember liking them because I found where I have like 2 or 3 backups in my drawer, so I must apparently really like them, but I haven't worn them in a very long time, so let's pop these on and see how it goes. So let's see how these go. Okay, so they're not the worst things. It might have been really before I discovered the Ioni brand because those are my favorite lashes. These just look like I put a big caterpillar right there. I'm gonna pass the other pairs along. Someone else maybe would get some use out of them, maybe for Halloween. Okay, for primer, I don't have one that's discontinued yet, so I just pulled out one that's from a limited edition collection because eventually it will be gone, but I'm hoping that the brand will bring it back, but just in like their regular stuff. This is the e.l.f. Good Vibes Only Soft Velvet Primer. I really love this stuff. It's kind of almost like a gel. It just blurs your pores and everything. Like it looks like that. And look at that, it just instantly like blurs everything away. And I love the scent. If they bring it back, I know a lot of people don't like scents in their products, but if they bring it back, maybe release 2 versions, one that's unscented and then one that has this exact same scent. Because I love it. It's like, I think they said it was like an amber smell or something. Okay, and for foundation, I actually do have one that's been discontinued recently. And I hate that it has been because I really do like it. Or well, I'm assuming it's been discontinued. It's no longer on the Hard Candy website. And when you find it on Walmart's website, all of the shades are out of stock. So I'm assuming that means it's gone. Or maybe they're reformulating. I hope they'll bring it back. This is the Hard Candy Sheerly Me Tinted Moisturizer, and mine is in the shade Sheerly Me 110. I really do love this stuff. I'm just going to take that on. This is actually a powder blurring brush from e.l.f., but I like using it as foundation. And this just has one of these types of applicators. I'm just going to squeeze out some in the back of my hand. Like they say, Sheerly Me, it is very, very sheer. Like, you don't really know if it's doing all that much because it's so sheer. The way it looks on the skin, it kind of reminds me of the way people describe the Glossier skin tint. Now, I've never used that one, so I'm not saying they're dupes or anything, because I've never used the Glossier one, but this really doesn't do much for your skin the way I've heard that that one doesn't either, but it just kind of, for me, it evens some things out, like a little bit of redness that I might have in certain areas like my nose, and sometimes I get redness like on my cheeks. But it was something that I really enjoy, and I hate that it's been discontinued. Okay, I don't have a discontinued concealer or anything, so I'm first going to go in with my Smashbox and Becca Under Eye Brightener. This one is in the shade Fair Light. I'm going to take a little bit of that first, and then I'm just going to take that moisturizer and bring it up a little bit higher, but I wanted to put down this corrector first. And I'm just going to take a small amount of that tinted moisturizer and just run that under my eyes a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to take a little bit of my Rimmel Stay Matte Pressed Powder. I don't have a discontinued powder, so I'm just going to use this one to lightly go in and set my T-zone a little bit. I don't have any cream products that I'm going to be going in with today. Everything is powder. Okay, this next thing, this is a face palette from Becca, which we all know Becca is no longer a brand, which is really sad because they did have some really great products. So this is the Sunsetter face palette. It had a packaging kind of like that. It'll glare if I show it too much. So. And then it had like this bronzer blush, kind of like these blush lighter shades in it. And I really do enjoy this palette. But I'm only going to be using the bronzer, which is the shade Gold Trotter. I'm not going to be using the other shades because I have a discontinued highlighter and blush that I want to be using. So I'm going in with, this is a Flawless Face Brush from e.l.f. and I'm just going to go into that bronzer. I really hate that you can't get it anymore and that this isn't a brand anymore because they had some really good stuff. I know everybody talks about like the highlighters, of course. Now the under eye corrector, but since we know that Smashbox took that over and kind of about the correctors and I think some of the highlighters. Okay, some of my brow product, I was going a little ham earlier and it got caught right in there, so the bronzer's wanting to settle on that. There we go. One of my most favorite products from Becca is one of their blushes, and it's in the shade Flower Child. It is the most perfect peachy pink. And the closest I've been able to find to it is a blush from Rimmel. And I think the shade is Third Base in the Rimmel blush. But honestly, Flower Child, I still have the blush and I don't want to use it anymore because you can't get it now. And I'm sad because this is such a pretty blush. But I do really like this bronzer. I like that it has like a little bit of a gleam to it. I really love glowy face products like that, like glowy bronzers and glowy blush. I know actually not too long ago, I believe that I had spotted this in like TJ Maxx. I don't know if it'd still be there now. That was quite a while back. But I mean, you never know. You might can still find this brand in places like TJ Maxx. If there's any product that you really do want, you'd always try places like Mercari as well. Now for highlighter, this was one of my most favorite highlighters, and to me this was the best part of this collection. The rest of the collection was kind of meh. This is the Wet n Wild Megaglo highlighter in the shade Crystal High, and this come in that, I think it's Crystal Cavern collection, and it's kind of like almost like a putty highlighter. Like it's kind of got like a bouncy texture to it. That's the best way I could describe it. Almost like a Super Shock. That's kind of what it probably would feel like a Super Shock. It was honestly one of my most favorite highlighters. So I'm just going to take this highlighting brush from e.l.f. I'm going to go into that. Mind you, I love this highlighter because, well, it's very glittery. And I know not everybody likes glitter highlighters. And I probably applied way too much, but it's okay because I'm going over it with a blush. I just always loved it so much. I thought it was really pretty and sparkly, and I really love glitter, so it was definitely right up my alley. And honestly, this was one product from that collection that should be a permanent product because it's beautiful. And even after all these years, because this was an older collection, it hasn't dried out. It has not dried out in all these years, and it's just lovely. I mean, look at that. I applied a little too much, but beautiful. Now these, does anyone remember these? These are the e.l.f. Studio blushes, and this one's in the shade Berry Mary. This packaging, I really believe they were probably trying to dupe NARS, because this kind of reminds me a little bit of the NARS packaging, but they discontinued these. But mind you, these were also kind of shimmery blushes. Now it's been a long time since I've used this blush, but I do remember it. Well, you can see the glitter in it. I'm just going to take it on that same highlighter brush, and let's just start pressing it in. I remember liking these blushes. Like, I remember thinking they were of good quality. And I think I have all the shades. I believe there were about 4 or 5 of them. This is the only one I believe that's more of a cool tone. The rest of them look kind of more like really warm peachy orangey tones, and then one of them looks like it would just be really a straight up highlighter on people. It wouldn't like show off like a color. It would be just more so like just shimmer. Okay, my camera cut me off, so I have, and it has plenty of battery. Like my SD card hasn't run out, so I don't know what happened there. So I don't know what you might have missed, but I was just talking about how I over applied the highlighter, but I hope you can see the color of the blush, because it's just so much highlighter. I'm not sure what happened there. That was strange. It just, like, the screen just went black. Well, all in all, I still really love the highlighter, but applying it very sparingly would be the way to go. Just, you know, maybe like to even just use your finger and just tap a little bit, because I used way too much, and you can't really, I feel like the color of the blush isn't really showing through because of that, but it's still a very pretty blush. I wish these still existed, actually. They're very pretty, very smooth. Even though they have shimmer in them, which, I mean, that's hard to tell because the highlighter is so glittery, they do have shimmer. It's still a really pretty smooth blush. They should have definitely kept these. Alright, this is an eyeshadow C brush, and I'm just going to take it back into this first shade that we used. And I'm just going to run that on that lower lash line. On that same brush, I'm going to go in with this more topper shade right here, and I'm going to pop that on the inner corner. And as for like lip products, I don't believe I have any that have been discontinued, except for one that was part of a limited edition collection, and that is the e.l.f. and Nabella Noir pencil, but that is a very warm tone shade, and it is not going to go with this eye look. So what I'm just going to use instead is this kind of like lip crayon from Rose Inc. This one is in the shade Abstraction. It's more of like a cool tone shade. Well, I don't know. It turned out a little bit more warmer than I thought, but I'm just going to apply just a teeny bit of it. And there you have it, the finished look using a lot of my discontinued makeup products. I think it was super fun to pull out some of these products again and to just try them. Some of them I had forgotten what they were like, kind of like the eyeshadow palette, and then others I loved so much back when they were still available, like the highlighter, the blush, that Becca palette, and it's nice to revisit these products and just kind of reminisce a little bit. But thank you so very much for watching. I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!